What's up, guys? We are going to go ahead and get started. Today's Zoom topic is going to be about just what a good deal looks like. So we'll do some underwriting, some Q&A today. Hopefully I can provide you guys some info on what an actual good deal looks like versus maybe some bad deals. That way you guys have a clear picture of what to go target and look for. So let me go ahead and get started. And we're on YouTube? Yeah, we're on YouTube. Okay, sweet. Right on. Thanks for showing up, everybody. We got close to 30 people in here, some familiar faces, some newer people. It looks like if this is your first time in our Zoom, you haven't been in a Herd of Profits Zoom with Angie Milanazzo and team as the host. If this is your first time in our Zoom or a part of our community, if you could type a 1 in the chat for us. Just like to see who's a newcomer and who's not. Sure, we have a lot of OGs coming back. No newbies, huh? Everybody's been here at least once? Okay. Sweet. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. A lot of you guys are probably already connected in with us, but if you're not, make sure you guys are a part of our Facebook group. So I'm going to drop the link to that. If you are not a part of the Facebook group, definitely get connected with us. We post deals in here that we're wholesaling. I'm sure other people post their deals that they're wholesaling. So if you're a buyer, you can find deals in here. If you're looking for private money, we also have those in here. Sorry, guys. So yeah, we have private money lenders, contractors, lenders in here, real estate agents, boots on the ground in every state. So make sure you guys are tapped into the Facebook group. If you do request to join, make sure you answer the questions. So when you join any Facebook group, it typically prompts you to answer some questions. So make sure you do that, or you do risk getting rejected. So definitely make sure you're part of the Facebook group. And then we are going to have some new deal form links here soon, but for now, we still have our original ones. So if you guys are out there hustling, you're making phone calls, you're talking to agents or sellers, you think you have a lead and you're not sure what the next step is, that's really the point, to get it under contract and hopefully get it closed. So again, you have to be part of the Facebook group to do that. So let's see. Got the right YouTube pulled up here. Angie Milanazzo. And then lastly, if you guys would like to get some more training, if you have free time while you're driving, whatever the case may be, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. So every week we go live twice a week, and we store and record all of the videos here. You can see we're live right now. We have one person watching on the YouTube. Let's see if they've commented anything. We are chat. Okay, nobody's chatting so far. So yeah, make sure you're part of the YouTube channel. Again, we've walked sellers through contracts. We've talked to sellers directly. We've negotiated deals. We've comped, estimated rehab costs, talked to sellers, wrote offers, everything you can imagine. We've done it on our YouTube channel. So a lot of good resources for you guys to check out here. Joey asked a really good question. What are the 4 pillars or a good video I can see on that? So, and this is pretty standard across the wholesale real estate industry. Most people know what the 4 pillars are. So that's going to be motivation, timeline, price, and condition. Those are your 4 pillars. So if you don't know those, you're not quite sure if that's a lead or not. So you have to know their motivation to sell. Why are they selling? Their timeline, how soon do they want to sell? The price, obviously, what do they want? And condition of the home. So you need to know those 4 things. Those are your 4 pillars. Okay. So yeah, definitely make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. A lot of good training in there. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Let me see first. We got a couple of questions. Dorette, you have a question?
Hi, Dylan. Yeah, what's a respectable EMD that you can put down?
Yeah, good question. This is we get asked this a lot, right? Like, if you put $100, it's not very respectable, right? Most sellers and agents are going to balk at that. So for us, we tend to put $1,000 for earnest money, and I would say 98% of the time, agents and sellers don't typically balk at that. It seems like a reasonable amount. It's not too much, obviously. In the traditional real estate world with agents and buying, selling homes, it's usually 1% of the purchase price. So if you have a $500,000 home, it's $5,000. But for, again, like 98% of the properties we get under contract, we put $1,000 of earnest money down, and we typically never have any agents or sellers upset at that amount. So $1,000 seems to be that sweet spot for us.
So can you put like a small portion, and then, the second half you put that big portion?
You could do that. That's, it's all negotiable. It's all whatever you and your seller agree to. So, most of the time I just put $1,000 and everybody's cool with that. So we deposit that earnest money within 3 days of an executed signed contract. But if let's say your seller wants you to put $10,000 down, maybe you can negotiate, hey, let me put $2,000 down, and then after a certain amount of days, I'll deposit the rest. So it's all negotiable.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Robert, you got a question?
Thank you. This is more of a suggestion concerning the sub 2 offering. In order for what I would call the back end to go smoothly, there's kind of the way I see it, a trifecta of objections. Now, this is just a suggestion maybe for another podcast, but I'm thinking that you could dedicate most of the podcast to it. But the debt to income situation that should be addressed, maybe help people by dropping a link, talking about it for 10 minutes or whatever. Second one would be what happens if we stop paying, and how that's taken care of, kind of like the whole ball of wax and the arc on that, so their nerves are settled. And Joey did a wonderful thing about that about a month ago, a live call. So that's number 2. And the third one that it was pretty hazy to me is transferring the insurance properly, so it doesn't trigger the due on sale clause, I guess, So yeah. That's kind of it. I just it'd be nice to have everybody on the same wavelength.
Yeah, no, definitely great idea. And these are things we have touched on in some of the older YouTube videos. Which videos exactly, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But you are right. Those are some of the major objections and questions you get with a subject to deal. And I think that's a great idea, is like, let's get really into the weeds of subject to. And that way we can point people towards that video whenever they have questions about insurance or due on sale.
Yeah, I mean, you spend most of it doing your explanation in the last 15 minutes or whatever on Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we could touch that today. If not, I do like that idea. Maybe we can do that on Friday.
All right. Thanks, man.
Sweet. Thanks, Robert. Okay, awesome. And yeah, today we do plan to have a Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout the Zoom, feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you. You can post your questions in the chat, but if you run a risk of maybe them getting missed. So obviously a lot better for you guys to turn on your cameras, raise your hand, all that good stuff. So, okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we want to just, again, paint a very clear target for you guys. Pace had a great analogy. It's a little bit long-winded, but he was at a firing range shooting at a gray target. And when your bullet penetrated this target, right, you couldn't see it because it was gray, versus a red target, right? You can see the holes penetrating through that red target. So knowing what you're hunting for is going to make, hitting that target a lot easier. So that's the idea. We want to make sure we paint such a clear target for you guys. That way, exactly what you're looking at when you're looking for a deal. So, we've talked a lot about this, but it's always good to revisit these topics. The last few Zooms we've done, I think, have been more entry beginner level Zooms. But even for me, and I'm sure other people, it's good to go back to the basics a little bit. So, let's talk about markets first. What states you guys should be targeting? And we've done, again, the last 2 Friday Zooms that we've done. We picked markets, identified where and how and what. But I think it's always good to sort of revisit this. So, especially for, we get a lot of leads sent to us that just, right off the bat, we can identify, hey, it's just not a good area. It's not a good price range, whatever the case may be. So hopefully for those of you guys that have submitted some leads and maybe you haven't gotten great feedback on them, you're not sure what you should be looking for. Hopefully this Zoom can help you with that. So, I want to talk about markets and like what markets we should be looking at. Okay. So I'm just here on Zillow. And Zillow's a great resource for you. There's so many other resources for data, right? But ideally, especially in the market we're in, right? Like everything's so gloomy. There's an impending recession happening. Interest rates are on the rise. People are getting laid off from jobs. Like the cost of ownership on a home far exceeds the average income that people are making in these states. Like Miami, for example, the average home price is, ridiculous. Like we can even scroll in. Let me get rid of this filter. So, and let's just look at, single family homes. So just looking around Miami, right? I could just get a sense for what the average home price is, right? You see very little 300s. I see a lot of 4s, 5s, 6s, millions, right? So average home price in Miami, just from looking at it, obviously the closer to the coast you get, you're going to be more expensive. Over here, you're still within like the $400,000 to $500,000 range. And Miami, again, if you look at data, their average annual household income for a single person is going to be like 50 or 60,000. So they just can't afford these homes, right? So we want to make sure we're picking markets and targeting areas where the median home price is affordable, 200, 300, 400,000. So, like South Carolina, if we look at Columbia, South Carolina, I'm going to scroll in. First thing you'll notice is relatively low inventory. There's not a ton of homes for sale compared to what we were just looking at in Miami. Everything's kind of parceled out, but yeah. So look at Columbia, South Carolina. You see a lot of 100,000, like you even see some below 100,000s, 200,000. Here's 400,000. You're going to see one-off very expensive homes, but for the majority, you're looking at probably average $200,000 to $300,000 home price. So Columbia is a market I'm going to target, and this is going to be true for probably most cities inside South Carolina. So, without giving you guys too much homework, I'll tell you some of the best the markets to target are going to be Alabama, Georgia, North and South Carolina, parts of Tennessee. If we scroll into Nashville here, again, low inventory, but you see a lot of millions, some 300s, 400s. So average home price in Nashville is probably 400,000. So not a bad market, absolutely. But if we look back at Denver, right, this is our market. This is where we live. So we're just very familiar with it. Denver. So let's look in Denver, right? I had a guy just message me today. He's an investor, but he's looking for a primary residence. He said he's looking for something in the North Denver area, Thornton, Broomfield, Westminster area. And he said his desired monthly payment is $2,000 a month. So looking in here at this area, right? You see, like, I'll show you. Let's look at homes listed below 400,000. There's a handful. There's literally 5 homes listed below 400,000. Now, if we go to 500,000, a lot more, but still very, very few, right? So our average home price is going to be about probably 500,000 to 600,000. Now you're seeing a lot more. So average home price in Denver is I would say 500,000 on average. If you guys just look at an amortization calculator, right, like a $500,000 loan, 3% over 30 years, your principal and interest payment alone is $2,100, right? So it's just not realistic. You're not going to get a total monthly payment of $2,000 in this area, right? Taxes are also going to be higher. Insurance is going to be higher. So, realistically, you're looking at least at $2,600, $2,500. And now interest rates are at 8%. So someone's monthly payment on an average home, $500,000 home in Colorado, is going to be $4,000 a month. It's just not affordable. Most people cannot afford a $4,000 home, right? So when underwriters, mortgage lenders are looking at an application, right, they want to see that borrower makes probably at least 3 to 4 times what their monthly mortgage payment is going to be. So if someone's monthly mortgage payment is going to be $4,000 and they want them to make 3 to 4 times, that's going to be $12,000 to $16,000 a month. Again, just not realistic. Most people are not making $192,000 a year. So, and you can look that data up, like what's the average, median income of an individual in Colorado. It's the guarantee it's less than 100,000, or right around 100,000, but it's just not realistic. So again, we want to target markets where home prices are affordable. You're going to have a lot more fix and flip investors, buy and hold investors in those areas, where, the investors in Denver that were doing fix and flips, they've almost cut their requirements in half, right? Where they were buying properties at 80% of ARV, they're now at 60% or 50% of ARV, just because they can't realistically rely on that home selling at 700,000, right? So home prices are coming down not as fast as they should, to be honest. So that's what a good deal to me looks like. It's going to be a high population area. So I'm not looking for places in Peru, Indiana, right? I don't want small towns. So for those of you that do live in small towns, I would say venture out into, larger, higher population densities. A great website for that is going to be demographics.com. You can see how many people live in a certain county. So we're looking for higher population areas where the average home price is affordable, meaning it's 150 to 350,000. That's your sweet spot. Obviously, you can go below and above that. There are buyers for those price ranges, but you're not going to be as successful if you're targeting those average home prices. So let's see. Mike says my area, North San Diego, averages 800,000. Makes no sense to do buy and holds here due to the ratio of rent. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's actually a great point, Mike. That sort of brings me to my next point, right? So, when I learned this, it made so much sense in my head. But if you're a buy and hold investor, so let's ignore fix and flips. Buy and hold investors typically, right, there's 4 reasons why someone would buy and hold real estate. Okay. So the first reason, everybody knows this, is cash flow. Okay. So if you're looking in Denver or San Diego for cash flow, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just not going to get a property that cash flows. You'd be lucky to break even in those areas. People buy and hold rentals in San Diego and Denver for appreciation. Okay. So that's one benefit of buying and holding a property in those states, in those areas, is appreciation, but it's not cash flow. If you want cash flow, you need to buy in states where home prices are affordable, where the cost of rent is higher than the cost of ownership. Okay, so super huge, super important for you guys to know. Like, again, this is just all Googleable stuff. What states is the average home, or where is rent higher than actually like the cost of owning a home? Okay, not many places. So, again, North, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, these are good, affordable places where the cost of rent is higher than the cost of ownership. But Denver, you're going to pay way more to own a home than you are just to rent a place. Okay. So those are the two reasons. Those are your primary reasons why someone would buy and hold real estate. The other is going to be depreciation. So this might be someone that is making a ton of income from either their W-2 job, or they have a ton of other high cash flow rental properties, and they need to offset that by depreciating an asset. So some people are okay with taking a loss on a property because it saves them so much money on taxes. And depreciation sort of ties into your fourth one is tax benefits as well too. So the government rewards people that own homes with taxes, cheaper taxes, stuff like that. So not a CPA, I probably didn't explain that the best, but you have to think when you're looking at these states, right? So ignore depreciation and tax benefits. Are you investing in an appreciation state like Denver and San Diego, or are you investing in a cash flow state like South and North Carolina, right? So most beginner investors, at least, even some of your tenured investors, aren't really looking to buy properties for depreciation, especially in the market we're in. You're not really looking to buy properties for that appreciation benefit because home prices are going down, right? So most people are wanting to buy cash flow. So again, parts of Texas, North, South Carolina, your Sunbelt states, parts of Florida, Columbia, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. And then also it's whatever your political beliefs are, it's important to know what states tend to be more landlord investor friendly versus tenant friendly, right? So New York is going to be very tenant friendly. If I'm a buy and hold investor, I'm not investing in holding properties in New York and same with California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, even, if you have someone that just stops paying and they refuse to move, you're just going to have to deal with that. It might take 6 months or longer for you to evict someone in these states. Versus Texas, you can get someone out of your house in 30 days. So if I'm a buy and hold investor right now, I'm looking at markets that I can get cash flow. I'm looking for affordable median home price. I'm looking at Section 8, to be honest. A lot of you guys, if you don't know what Section 8 is, or you're not too familiar with Section 8, I would say get highly, highly educated on Section 8. That is where you're going to see the most cash flow. Robert, you sent me a guy that owns 28 units in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's a market. Before you even sent that to me, before you sent that to me, I already had Fayetteville, North Carolina on my radar. So let's just look at it, right? Like average home price, once you get away from this downtown, but you're in the 100,000, 150,000 is probably the average home price, maybe two. But those states, this area will cash flow from a long-term rental perspective. Your monthly payment's going to be $1,000 tops. And Section 8's paying $1,300, $1,600, $1,500 for 3 beds, 4 bed homes in these areas. So learn Section 8. Okay, so hopefully that touched base on, right, like you have appreciation and cash flow states. Appreciation's not really a play right now. You should never buy a property based on appreciation alone. It's not a good, it's just because it's a wazi, it's a woozy, right? It's not real. Appreciation is based on whatever the market's, how the market is, right? And our market's not looking so hot. So I'm looking in cash flow states, red states where they're more landlord friendly. If I'm out there hunting for deals to buy or wholesale, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. Let's see, Durrett, you have another question?
Yes. How do you project proof of funds letter or proof of funds?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say, you're gonna have to probably, aside from learning, what are they called? I'm losing it. Photoshop. So you can either learn Photoshop, which obviously is just you're just dipping your toes in a little bit of fraud. Nothing crazy. We've all dipped our toes in fraud. Or joint venture with someone that has a real proof of funds. So I know some people that are very buddy with hard money lenders, and their hard money lenders provide actual real proof of funds. Or I would say joint venture with someone that's a private money lender, or a team like us. We have a very great looking proof of funds. So those are really going to be your only options is Photoshop, which I wouldn't recommend, or joint venturing with someone that has that capital.
Okay, so if I'm joint venturing with sub two, someone from sub two, that would be okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Right on. Yeah, no, good question. Ryan says, any thoughts on direct to agent versus as a strategy for newbies versus direct to seller? Yeah, Ryan's killing it with the questions. Great question. So, direct to agent is going to be, I would say, a little bit more challenging, not much, just because you're dealing with mostly professionals, right? Some agents, I guarantee a lot of people in our Zoom right now know more than the majority of agents, but you're dealing with professionals, right? So they're going to be able to sniff out like who's a newbie, who is really doing this, who knows what they're talking about versus who's not. But I would say as a newbie, direct to agent's probably going to be your best strategy because it's free, right? So you don't have to pay for mailers, you don't have to do text campaigns, pay per click. So agent outreach tends to be a free marketing versus direct to seller. If you wanted to go after expired listings, you're gonna have to find a way to target these. So that could be mailers, text campaigns, cold callers, right? But all those are going to cost money to skip trace and pull those lists, get a dialer and call them, or hire a virtual assistant. Expired listings are a great way to get deals. But again, you're going to have to like pay for that data. And it's not too expensive, right? Like some skip trace platforms are 10 to 12 cents per record. But if you're skip tracing 10,000 records a month, that's going to be $100 a month. So not very expensive. But then if you want to add, text campaigns, that's just to pull the data. Now, how do you contact them, right? You're going to have to hire a virtual assistant, text campaigns, mailers, those all cost money. And if you're not a great closer, I wouldn't recommend pouring money into those marketing channels until you get good at the phone. So for a newbie, I'd recommend just start hammering the phones to agents. They don't have to be specific properties, right? Like another great resource for you guys is just realtor.com. So if I'm looking at Fayetteville, North Carolina, you can just go to find realtors on realtor.com and I can search for like who has the most sold listings. April, right? Now this is a team. She has a team. She's a broker with EXP, who's a great brokerage. So I'm going to be looking for people that aren't on a team, like Jennifer Ritchie, Edric Williams, Amy, right? These are people not on a team doing their own thing. I'm going to contact these agents and say, hey, my name's Dylan. I'm a buyer in the area. I'm looking to buy and build my Section 8 rental portfolio. Always looking to connect with high level agents. I see you're crushing it. So just would love to introduce myself and hopefully we can do some business in the future. If you have anything that fits a Section 8 investor buy box that I could take a look at, I'd love to at least put an offer on something today if possible. So that's what I would say is if you're brand new, start reaching out to some of these higher level agents this way, or practice, role playing with someone and then reach out to these agents. But yeah, like that's what I do at least a few days a week. Is I'm contacting some of these higher level agents and just trying to book a meeting with them and my team and just try to provide value. Hey, I'm buying 3 to 6 homes a month in Fayetteville. How can I provide value to you? So that's what I'd recommend if you're a newbie. If you have a ton of money to burn and you can go 6 months without getting a deal, then sure, go direct to seller, hire some virtual assistants. But most of us don't have just money to light on fire like that. So, okay, sweet. So that's what the markets I would hunt in. Now we also get a lot of leads sent to us. This is kind of what not a good lead looks like. Okay. So I talked about what a good lead looks like, but here's what I would avoid. I would avoid anything in Miami again above like let's look at minimum. Let's look at 2 million. Okay, so all of these properties right here, 550,000 to 2 million, I would not waste my time on a single one of these properties, especially in this area because insurance is extremely high. Again, like what I just spoke about, the majority of buyers are priced out of Miami. The people that live in these places can't afford them. They're renting, and they're probably renting like a drive away. They're living out in Belle Glade. Like they just can't afford to live in the areas they work in. So stay away. I would not target anything above 550,000 in any state. That's just my recommendation. Now, could you find success in those higher price homes? Without a doubt, anybody could. You could figure it out. There's buyers, there's fix and flippers, there's investors having tons of success in these areas. But my recommendation, I would stay away from anything above 550,000, especially in Texas, Florida, Texas and Florida specifically. You know, Denver, right? Like your average home price is 500,000. So that's just I'm not telling you to not do any deals in Denver, but just really know your market. You're going to waste a lot of time targeting homes. Like I would say bare minimum, don't go after anything above 650,000 in any state across the country. Don't look at 600,000. Raphael says, so what again, that's like single family. Multifamily is different, right? Obviously, but a triplex at 1 million is still too high, right? Like you can go to Fayetteville, North Carolina and find a triplex for 300,000. So like any duplex in Denver is $1 million, and it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't cash flow, right? Like if I even type in a $900,000 loan at 4% interest. So good debt on it, right? But your payments 4,200 plus taxes and insurance, call it 4,700. Rent in Denver is not $3,400 for a half a for one side of a duplex. 4 bedrooms in Denver rent for 2,800 max. So it just doesn't pencil that well. I would say a triplex at 1 million. Oh, nice. Now we're recording. I would say a triplex for 1 million might be too high. There's so many factors that go into it, right? Like, is it worth 2 million, but you're getting it at $1 million, right? Then maybe it's a good deal. But if it's turnkey, it's a beautiful property, there's just not much, right? Like you're at the peak of the market, right? Home prices are coming down. So I would say you probably are overpaying for that. It's probably not going to cash flow from a long-term rental perspective. So I don't love that. Yeah, your sweet range, guys, again, is 150 to 350,000. Target those areas 1,000%. Okay, so now, right, there's different kinds of deals. There's land development, multifamily, there's manufactured, there's sub-2, there's cash. And that's why Pace named it the Elephant Challenge when we were doing that. But there's just it's huge, right? There's so many niches you can get into and make money and be successful, right? And a lot of people get stuck with shiny object syndrome. So you have to be careful about, like, okay, this week I'm going after multifamily, then I'm going after single family, then I'm going to look at land development, right? Like pick something and just get really good at that. For us, it's been single family, creative finance. We've got that locked in. Now we're going into single family cash, right? So it's taken us this long. We've done some cash deals, but it's taken us this long to now say, okay, we're comfortable with sub-2. We have that leg of our business automated and functioning. Now let's get into the cash. And then after that, it's going to be multifamily, but we're still not there yet. So I think the barrier to entry for most newbies on sub-2 and creative finance is a lot harder than cash, right? Like Robert explained, there's a lot more different objections and higher level nuances with creative finance. You're dealing, you're answering questions about debt to income, VA entitlement, deed in lieu of foreclosures, due on sale clause, right? Where cash is like a universal language. Everybody understands cash. Like your only objection is that's too low, or that's it, really. Like you'll have some other objections, but easy to overcome, right? So like I would recommend if you're new to this, I would say learn creative finance, but focus on cash first. And Pace teaches this. He says cash, go for creative last. Okay. So we're now really hunting after cash deals. We're looking for fix and flips. We have the buyers. We know the areas we want to target. We know our underwriting. We know what prices we need to hunt for. So this is, again, back to basics, but I really think you're going to have a lot more success looking for cash deals than you are sub 2, seller finance. For most of you guys, this is maybe like a good insight. Seller finance is probably one of the hardest types of deals to actually get done. Way harder than cash, way harder than sub 2. Seller finance is a hard deal to get done, because if you think about it, your seller is going to have to finance you for a long period of time, ideally like at the minimum 7 years, right? So most people, if they have a property owned free and clear, they're not going to want to be a bank on it for 7 years. Most people just don't care about earning whatever 5, 6, 7% interest. And realistically, we're looking for 0 to 3% interest. Okay. So right off the bat, 99% of people are not going to accept any 0 or 3% interest rate on a seller finance deal. They're just not. Same thing, cash flow, right? Like if you're looking at $400,000 homes on seller finance, it's not going to cash flow. It's not going to pencil, right? So you're killing all your other exit strategies because they're going to want a balloon on it, and then it doesn't cash flow in the first place. So again, cash is going to be just the easiest universal language for you guys to speak and understand. So I don't know, I'm looking at this. Let me go back to Zillow. Okay. So, and our last Zooms, we've talked a lot about, okay, how do you find cash deals, right? Especially in the market wherein buyers are buying properties at 60% of the ARV. How do you find someone that's willing to sell their property at 60% of what it's actually worth? You're not going to have a very fun time looking for properties on market. So I was just looking at this. No minimum. I'm looking in Denver again. So I'm looking at homes under 250,000 in Denver. There's 2 homes. I can even go up to, right. So if you're thinking about it, the average home price in Colorado is 500,000. If I need to buy a house at 70% of that, I'm looking for homes about 350,000 and below. So looking in Denver, there's maybe 10 properties available. Now, if I look at a lot of these listings, I guarantee you a lot of these are going to say, please, no lowball investors, no wholesalers. This property has been on for 56 days. And let's look at the price. So they listed it in September for $297. They did a little price drop. They went under contract at $292, fell back out. So it's been a couple of months and they really haven't price dropped, right? JR says, I look for older landlords that want to pass down cash flow to their children on seller finance deals. Yeah, great point, JR. Like your prime candidate, probably one of your only candidates for a seller finance deal is going to be a tired landlord, someone who understands cash flow. So it's going to have to be an investor. It's going to have to be a tired landlord, someone who just they love the cash flow, but they hate managing it, right? If you think about it, that's your ideal person for a seller finance. They love the cash flow, right? They don't necessarily need all the money. They're just sick of fixing toilets and chasing down tenants, right? So that's your ideal candidate for a seller finance. So I would not be just offering seller finance to anyone. Really tired landlords are going to be one of your only candidates for that. But yeah, like you're just not going to find a property that's listed on market. Very rarely. You'll get lucky if you're doing this for a while, but very rarely you're going to find a property on market and submit an offer well below what they're asking and they'll accept it. So you're going to have to go direct to seller if you want cash deals, or find pocket listings from agents, right? That's why I said let's call some of these higher level agents and connect with them, see what they have in their pipeline that's maybe not under contract, right? But that's why I recommend, in the last 2 Zooms we've done, we've talked a lot about driving for dollars. So if you're in some of these areas, right, that I've spoke about, you should actually be out physically driving for dollars. It will be worth your time. If you're in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, I would recommend paying for something like Deal Machine or Batch Driven. These are two programs that you can virtually drive for dollars. You can skip trace, call sellers, send offers through those programs. So let's recap real quick, right? We're looking for median price homes around 150 to 350,000, high population areas, right? We're looking for cash flow states right now, not really appreciation states. And we're looking for off market. We're trying to get direct to seller, and really we should be looking for properties that need work. So we're looking for distressed homes, boarded up windows, tall grass, the roof has a tarp on it, there's trash everywhere. That's really what you're looking for. Most people drive by those homes and think, what an ugly home. But as an investor, you should drive by and just see dollar signs, right? Most people, when they walk into a hoarder home, all they smell is cat piss or whatever, right? I typically will just smell money, because there's so much opportunity in a property like that. So does anybody have any questions so far about like what to look for, how to find them, anything like that?
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, Joey?
Hey, so what's up, man? I know you're speaking to the off-market cash mostly offers right now, but for the sub-2 type stuff where you're going like low equity, 10% equity or lower type of thing, how do you determine if those are deals? Is the main factor you're trying to look for like something that will cash position, right?
And yeah, I want to go and see great question. Maybe we can shift into that. Like, what does a good sub-2 deal look like? I think a lot of you guys would are chomping at the bit to know that too. So yeah, let's look into like a good low equity deal. So if I'm looking on PropStream, let's type in Fayetteville, North Carolina. To reset this, I'm looking for homes that have 80% loan to value, meaning they're worth 100 and they owe 80,000 or more, right? So low equity. That's your first kicker with a sub-2 deal. We've closed and bought sub-2 deals where they weren't low equity. We turned them into hybrids. The seller financed a portion of their equity, but the easiest bread and butter type of transactions are they have very little equity. They have a good interest rate. You're going to take those over. So right off the bat, I'll show you guys this. This is easily $100,000 worth of value. So if you guys aren't paying attention, I would tap in real quick, check back in with us. This filter, I shit you guys not, has made us $500,000 this year. Right, I saw your eyes light up, Joey. This filter alone has made us $500,000. We're looking for residential properties. Now, the only reason we have vacant land, stuff like that in here, is because we're looking for new homes as well. And PropStream thinks they're still vacant land. We're looking for 3-bed, 2 baths for sale. So we're looking for on-market properties, again, below $550,000. If I'm in Fayetteville, I'm probably targeting actually below 250, maybe 350,000. I don't care who owns it, and I want them to have an 80% loan to value or more, 1 mortgage. I don't want 2, I don't want 0, I want 1 specifically, conventional FHA or VA with a 4.5 interest rate or less. So right away, that tells you what a good deal looks like. Less than a 4.5 interest rate, low equity. They have one specific type of loan. Where'd I go? I got lost. Okay, so let's look at some of these. Now, PropStream is going to be off, right? So PropStream thinks this home's worth $372,000. They're pretty close. They're listed for $370,000. They owe $304,000. It doesn't show me what their interest rate is, but this is, to me, this is a pretty nice home. Like, let's see, when was it built? 2021. So brand new home in a great area, Fayetteville, North Carolina. They're asking $304,000. Now, here's something you have to consider. This is a very expensive home for this area. Like I was showing you guys earlier, where's number one? Down here. Let's look at Fayetteville, North Carolina. Norfolk. Okay, so let's look at minimum 250. So not a ton of homes for sale in this price range, right? Like I'm not seeing anything above 350. One home, that might be ours. It might be that one. But so that's another thing to think of, Joey, is like, are you buying the median price home in Fayetteville, even though it's affordable to us, right? It's you're actually buying like one of the more expensive homes in this area. So something to consider now, like they owe 304. Let's look at this on Zillow. 370. They've been listed for 70 days. A lot of good feedback, so it's possible it could sell. Zillow sometimes will show you like statistics. This home is likely to sell 99% faster than the rest of the homes. It doesn't show anything like that. So like this is just one of the most expensive homes in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So when you're thinking of investors, like if you're looking at your exit strategies, can I wrap this home? Can I rent this home? Airbnb, right? It's probably not the best idea to buy the most expensive home in that area. So while this looks like a good deal on the surface, brand new build, let's say it's a low interest rate, it's low equity, you're buying one of the most expensive homes. So if my exit strategy is going to be a long-term rental, it probably doesn't cash flow that great, right? Like it's a 4.3. There's plenty of other 4.3s. Let's look on Zillow. Let's look for 4.2s. Up to 350,000. 210,000. Here's a 4-bed, 3-bath. Look at this, very nice. You think this home's going to rent for a lot less than that other one? Probably not, right? It's $160,000 less, and it probably rents for right around the same. We can even double check that statistic too. So let's look. Here's Rent-A-Meter for a 4-bed, 1.5 bath or more. 1755. Now what's this one? You know, $250 more. I mean, not amazing for $170,000 more. It's not really worth it. So just something to consider there. I would still probably target this deal though. You know, whether it cash flows from a long-term rental perspective or not, you could still wrap this property. But again, it's like your average buyer in Fayetteville is probably can only afford a $250,000 home. So when you try to wrap a $350,000 home, your buyer pool is just a lot more limited. So now that was sort of a long-winded answer, Joey, but hopefully that like gives you some insight of what to look for. And then now I want to kind of dive into exit strategies. So cash is easy. When you're looking at cash, it's like, can I flip this home and make a profit, right? Can I buy it, put money into it, and sell it and make a profit, right? That's traditionally what your exit strategy is on a cash deal, on a fix and flip that needs work. Now, some people do buy properties, renovate them, and they don't sell them. They'll refinance, rent them out, and then move on to the next one. That's called your BRRRR strategy. BRRRRs aren't great right now because interest rates suck. So refinancing into an 8%, you're probably not going to cash flow. So cash is easy. It's like fix and flip right now is probably one of your only exit strategies. Obviously there's more, but with sub 2, you have so many different exit strategies. You have just traditional long-term rental. You have wraparound mortgages, which gets into higher level We won't touch too deep on wraparounds, but you have like midterm rental. You can invest in notes, all that good stuff. So if I'm looking at sub two deals, you have to know what your exit strategies are and how those make sense. So long-term rental is an easy one to underwrite. And if you guys are, let me share my screen. If you guys are in the Facebook group, I'm going to drop the link to it just in case anybody didn't get it. I'm going to show you guys a great calculator you can come in here and download. So come to the files and download this calculator, deal or no deal. I use this all the time. Robert, the North Carolina properties you sent me, I was using this to underwrite. So this is my deal or no deal calculator. This is what it looks like. So that property we were just looking at, right? It said your average rent was around $2,000. Let's look at it. Now it's not showing me exactly what their interest rate is. Let me see if Privy has it. No public records. Okay, but PropStream did show me they have a 313,000. Let's assume they have a 4% interest rate. Right off the bat, your principal and interest payment alone is $1,494. Okay. Let's look back at this. Taxes, $2,300, call it $2,400. That's $200 a month. So we're at $1,694. Let's call it $1,700. And insurance, we'll say, is $100. So PITI is $1,800. Right off the bat, right? Most of you guys know a property that's cash flowing $200 gross is losing money. Right. So let's just say I gave the seller $10,000 and I got into it for nothing else. 10,000. And I had the 10,000. I didn't need to borrow it. But if you want to be a smart investor, you want to put away 15% at least for things like vacancy, maintenance, capital expenditures, property management. So if you're putting away 300, you're only making 200, you're losing money. So right off the bat, I know that this property will not make sense as a long-term rental. My only exit strategy could be actually Airbnb. Another great resource for you guys to know is this website right here. It's called data.rabu.com. So it just shows you Airbnb comparables. So this is a 4-bedroom. And it says it makes $36,000 a year. So, I mean, it's $3,000 a month. So maybe you are looking at this as a potential Airbnb. For me, it just seems a little too rural. I definitely want to know this Fayetteville market a little bit more and understand what drives people to want to vacation here and rent here. But yeah, maybe Airbnb is a possible exit strategy. It says it's making $3,000 a year. For Airbnb, your costs are going to be a lot higher, 25%. So who knows? Maybe this property could actually be an Airbnb, right? So I'd look a little bit more into that. Your cost is going to be, instead of arrears, this will be furniture. So that size of home, you're at least looking at probably like 15 grand in furniture. Closing costs are going to be 2,500, right? So use this calculator to underwrite your long-term rental, whether it's Airbnb, midterm rental, all that good stuff. Another thing I'm going to look at is what hospitals are around here. So another exit strategy is midterm rentals. So renting it for 3 to 4 months at a time to traveling professionals like traveling nurses, corporate rentals, stuff like that. So let's see what hospitals are around. Okay, so we have a hospital over here. That looks like a pretty small one. It looks like your major one's going to be this one. Not even. Cape Fear Valley. Let's see how far you are. You want to be within 15 minutes. So 20 minutes is a little bit too far than you'd like. Most nurses aren't going to want to drive 20 minutes if there's traffic, 25, 30 minutes to their job. So I wouldn't say this property is very good midterm rental. So right now I'm thinking my only exit strategy is probably Airbnb, wrap. It's the most expensive home in the market. I wouldn't want to wrap a home like this in this area. Most people aren't going to be able to afford that home with a 6, 7, 8% interest rate. But who knows? I could be wrong. I mean, still not very expensive. So hopefully that helps, guys. Like, think about your exit strategies when you're targeting a deal, right? So if I'm looking at $1 million home in, let's say, Arizona, and maybe it's not low equity. We get sent a lot of deals like this. It's they want $1 million. Let's say they owe 500,000. So there's 500K in equity. You're going to have to get into that deal for less than 10%. So that seller is going to have to be okay with making, maybe 50 grand, realistically, probably less. Or no, yeah, they'll probably make 50 grand, maybe 60, 70. But they're going to have to finance $400,000 just unless they're a tired landlord and they're looking for that. You're just not going to convince someone to do that. So target low equity, low interest rates, affordable, median home price, know your exit strategies, use calculators, learn how to underwrite. And hopefully that gives you guys a clearer picture. Mike says, assume direct to agent for wholesaling, you'd still contact them just for off market only. Yeah, Mike, we've had a ton of success targeting on market deals, low equity, and getting those properties under contract. So, feel free. Those are the probably not the only deals, but the majority of the deals you're going to get on market are going to be low equity sub 2. But again, you got to know your pitch. You got to know sub 2 at a very high level if you're going to get an agent to convince a seller to sign your contract. So yeah, I would say target off market. Okay, sweet. Does anybody have any questions? My voice is starting to go. Let's see. Where'd my chat go? Mike says, for cash deals, do you ever use wholesalers and assign to your buyer one level daisy chain? Yeah, Mike, we do. Like we use New Western a lot, to be honest, especially if we're in a market that we're not totally familiar with. Like Louisiana, for example. If I get a cash deal in Louisiana, I'm just calling my New Western rep. For most of you guys probably know who New Western is. They're probably the nation's largest wholesaler. They buy a ton of deals from wholesalers because they have the largest network of buyers. So yeah, I'll absolutely, if I'm not finding a buyer, I'm not going to be greedy. I'm going to let some other wholesalers try to find a buyer for me and JV it with them. Absolutely. Durrett, you have another question?
Okay, let me see how I can put this now. I see a house for $110,000, right?
Okay.
And it needs a lot of rehab. But I'm just saying, even Ray Charles could see that it would take half of the amount, the price, to really fix the house up. So I put it in the deal analyzer, and it was the agent said that I should make an offer. So I was thinking of, the deal analyzer said everything would come up to like $60,000 if I should ask him for half of the price, like 60, 65 or something like that. But then I was looking to see how much profit I would make, and it says $25,000. So you think I should come down with like about $80,000 for the offer? Because you said
So
I know I'm confusing you, but
no worries. So and that's actually a good question, because that probably paints a clearer picture for a lot of people. That deal analyzer, is not really geared towards fix and flips. It's geared towards rental properties. So buy and hold, cash flow, that's not going to be the calculator you should use for fix and flips.
Wholesaling. For
wholesaling, right? So, but right, you're going to wholesale it, but what is your end buyer going to do with it? Are they going to hold it or are they going to flip it?
Either or.
Okay, and there is room in the calculator. Where'd you go? For renovation costs, so you can figure that into your cost, right? So let's say it rents for $1,500. Your PITI. So when you're dealing with a cash deal, you're just dealing with taxes and insurance. So for that price range, let's guess 200, maybe let's say $250 for tax and insurance in that price range, just a guess. So seller's cash, you're thinking of offering them 60,000?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say 80. I thought of 60, but then I said let me go with 80.
Okay.
Since I see that I would make like $25,000, I would kind of back off a little bit off of that and bring it up to 80. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying. I'm really trying.
Yeah, no. So you'd also want to know your after repair value. So you're going to want to have to comp that property. We don't really have too much time to do that, but
yeah, right.
And
okay.
It's going to depend on the work needed. So let's say I'm going to offer him 60,000. I want to make $10,000 on a wholesale fee. Okay, so that's this assignment fee or cost of acquisition. Closing costs are probably going to be like 3,500. Renovation 40 grand. Monthly maintenance. So your total entry fee right off the bat is 120. Now 40,000 of that's renovation. Now, how are they going to get that money? Right, they might have to borrow it. So if you look at this, right, if I'm getting into this deal for 120,000, I also have to pay $1,000 at 10% interest for all that money. So I'm only making $250 after that. And then if I'm putting 15% away for property management, capital expenditures, stuff like that, $225 goes to that. So you're netting $25 a month on a property like that. So that type of deal, if it needs that much work, my exit strategy is going to be a fix and flip. I'm selling that to a fix and flip investor, most likely not a buy and hold investor. And this is just really isn't the calculator that you want to do for a fix and flip.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Tania says, do you buy in Denver? Absolutely. Denver's just a hard market to make sense right now, right? We are an appreciation state, not a cash flow state, right? So rentals don't really make sense out here. Home prices are going down. So really the only people having success in Denver right now are buying properties at 50% of the value, and they're flippers. They're not really buy and hold people. Drake, good question, says, why do you stay away from properties with 2 mortgages? Now, every property that has 2 mortgages isn't a totally dead lead, but if their second mortgage is a CHFA loan / a down payment assistance loan, that sort of kills the deal because those loans need to be paid off. You cannot take over a down payment assistance loan. Same thing with what are the other types of loans? HELOCs. So you can take over a HELOC subject to, and the only time I would consider that is if it was a small amount, because those loans tend to be adjustable rates, and they're going to be higher rates. So if it's a low amount like 20,000 and it's at a 6% interest rate and it's adjustable, that's manageable. But if someone's got a $200,000 home equity line of credit with an adjustable rate, that's going to kill a deal. So it's just a lot easier to take over one loan subject to. The more loans you throw in there, the higher risk of due on sale. A lot more variables are added. Joey, you have another question?
Yes, thanks. So curious about the JV process in terms of submitting deals and how that works as far as like splitting a part of it, or how, what do you guys, how do you guys work that out?
Yeah, great question. And we'll wrap it up with this too, Joe. I appreciate it. That's a great question. Doug says reverse mortgages you can't do anything with reverse mortgages. So I would avoid those. There might be an exit strategy out there, but I don't know of one. I would avoid reverse mortgages. Okay, so great question, Joey. What does a joint venture look like, right? So when I was brand new to real estate, I got into real estate at 18. I started reading like Rich Dad Poor Dad, all these books. I went to some meetups. Didn't know what to do. I was super shy, super scared to talk to these people who I thought were just crushing it, right? Of course, now knowing what I know, most of these people probably weren't crushing it. They're probably not in real estate anymore. But if someone had pulled me aside when I was brand new into real estate and said, hey, like go driving for dollars for me. If you can send me the addresses where the property needs work and I'll pay you whatever, $500 if I close that deal, I'd be super excited, right? Because not only would I have the opportunity to work for someone that knows way more than I do and can convert a lead like that to get it closed, but I'd also get paid for that. So if you're brand new, expect to just be a bird dog. Don't expect to make 50% of a deal. Your goal should be to learn, not earn right off the bat. So if you're new, if you're someone out there that's just, let's say, calling on market low equity deals, you have one conversation with an agent and they're open to the idea of subject to, and then you submit that lead to us. And from there, we then send an offer, contact the agent, negotiate it. We get them under contract. We find boots on the ground to go take pictures. We open escrow, hire the transaction coordinator, deposit earnest money, market, find the buyer, negotiate with the buyer, get them under contract, make sure their earnest money deposits, work with the title company and the TC to get the deal closed, right? But all that person did was just have one conversation with the agent. That person should expect to make a finder's fee of, $500 to $1,000, something like that, nothing crazy. But there's a huge opportunity there, right? You can learn every step of the process. So that should be most people's goal if they're new, is just to learn how to do everything. Now my boy JR is in here. JR had a seller under contract in California, but it was a cash lead, right? He was doing his best. He was showing it to buyers, but just couldn't find anyone to pull the trigger on a cash deal. Just didn't make sense as a cash deal. So he had contacted us and we then converted his deal to a creative finance deal. It was a subject to. So JR was our boots on the ground. Anytime we needed to show the property, he was letting people in. He also did the legwork of finding the seller, right? But we had to then go through restructuring, renegotiating, affirming their objections. Obviously, the sub-2 contract is a lot of value just on its own. And then through our marketing, we were able to find the buyer, work with the transaction coordinator, find a title company that would insure a deal like this and close it. Now, in that case, right, JR made 30% of the deal because he found the seller. He was boots on the ground, working that deal, helping find buyers, talking to people. So he made 30%. So it just all depends. And it could be anything. Now, let's say, Joey, if you bring us a sub-2 deal, it's already under contract, you already have escrow open, all you need help with is finding a buyer, and we bring that buyer to the table. Now you're looking at maybe like more of a 50-50 split, or depending on your negotiating skills, maybe 70 your way, 30 our way. So again, it all depends. It's also negotiable too, but I would say your goal, if you're newer, is to learn a lot more. So hopefully that makes sense, Joey. Any other questions you have there?
No, that clears a lot up. I really appreciate that.
Right on. All right, appreciate it. All right, last question, then we're cutting it. Drake, what do you got for us?
Back to my thing with two mortgages. I'm noticing that like the ones that I do see with two mortgages, they're both FHA loans, but they're not on the same date. One's like a year later.
Yeah. Well, I just had deja vu. That's crazy. So that might be a down payment assistance loan. If the other loan's like, if it's small, if it's like 10, 20,
It's like
30,000.
75. Like the one I'm looking at right now is 75. The house is 294,
Hmm.
or the original loan was 274, and then a year later, almost a year later, another FHA loan was taken out for 75,000, or 12
Okay.
12,000, just 12,000, 12,092.
That's the amount
But
of the second loan.
yeah, but it was a
Okay.
year later.
So that's what I would either guess is a down payment assistance loan. That amount just screams like down payment loan, even though it was a year later. And again, a lot of data on prop stream and batch, it's going to be wrong. Like that second loan could just not even exist at all. So who knows? But my guess would be that's a down payment assistance loan. Another type of loan you're seeing a lot is what's called a forbearance loan. So during COVID, so many homeowners took forbearance where they stopped paying their mortgage for a year. And these mortgage companies restructured their loan and tacked that amount onto the back end, or even made an entire new loan completely. So that could be what it is it's a forbearance loan. And those types of loans, I think, are pretty safe to buy, subject to, because typically they're not accruing interest. They're not due until that first loan is due in 2053 or 30 years from now. So it just depends. You would have to the only way to know is to contact that seller or that agent and get mortgage statements or ask them. But that would be my guess, Drake, is that's either a down payment assistance or a forbearance loan.
And those down payment assistance ones you said can't be taken over subject to?
No, you can't even rent those properties. Once that those lenders see that the utilities have transferred on those homes, they're calling you instantly to pay them back. So I've
A
okay.
lot of those ones, the second ones I'm seeing are Secretary of Housing
Mm-hmm.
is the
Yep.
lender.
Yep. And so that's another thing too. The Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, they're also a lot of the people giving these forbearance loans as well. So again, that might be what it is. It's a forbearance loan.
And that one you wouldn't be able to take over subject to.
That one you could. That one you can, because it's not accruing interest. It's not. You might have a risk of due on sale. I'm not too sure, but some transaction coordinating companies don't touch loan modifications with forbearance loans as well too. So a lot of in the weeds you'll get into with those loans. That's why I recommend just target homes with one loan, nothing else. But is it impossible? I don't think so. But the down payment assistance, those have to be paid off for sure.
All right.
Right on. Good question. Okay. I keep saying this last question. Ryan asked in the chat, if exit strategy is for me to be the long-term hold buyer, is the best way to JV through the acquisitions process? Yeah, good question, Ryan. So this is an amazing question. I'm so glad you asked this, Ryan, right? Like maybe you guys don't care to wholesale, right? Maybe you have a great W-2 job, you love it, you're making great money, you don't need extra income as far as like, you don't need another job. Wholesaling's a job. Maybe you just want to start building your rental portfolio and getting passive cash flow. So we'll help do that as well too. If you identify a property that you know you want to hold, maybe you've even underwritten it, you know it's a good deal, you just need help with pitching it to the seller and contracts and paperwork, we'll do that for you as well too. You might end up paying us like a consultation fee to do that, but if it pencils and the numbers make sense, right, it works. So absolutely, if you know, and it's better than no deal, right? So if you're like, well, screw that, I don't need anyone to help me, 100% of zero is still zero, right? So I'd rather get 30 or 50% of 10,000 or whatever. So, but yeah, if you guys want to be the buyers, absolutely. You just need help locking it up or transaction coordinating, something like that. That's absolutely something that we help with as well too. So yeah, great question. Fantastic. All right. What's today? Today's Tuesday. Right on. I think that was a good Zoom. Hopefully you guys learned some good information. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. I'm going to do this selfishly just because I'm the captain right now. If you guys don't mind, if you learned anything or just want to help support your boy, go follow me on Instagram, please. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers. That's the goal. This is my Instagram, just Dylan Eggers Official. Check out some of my reels. I got some cool like buyer and agent and seller phone calls. So come follow your boy on Instagram. I greatly appreciate it. That's me. Sweet. All right, guys. Well, we will see you on Friday at noon Mountain Time. That's 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific. We might go more into the weeds on objections and subject to. I think that might be what we'll do. I'll have to see. But thank you guys for showing up. Hopefully you learned something. Make sure you're part of the Facebook, you're subscribed to the YouTube, all those good things. If you need help with anything, you can chat with us in the Facebook group. You can hit up Rachel, DM her, you can DM me. Stevie just posted everyone else's Instagram in the chat. Make sure you're go tap in with the whole team. So go follow us on Instagram. Thank you guys so much. We will see you on Friday. Have a safe week. Peace. See you guys.